Reserve unit getting the job, and Wiseman with a block.
You see the help and recover there
Wiseman
from
on the handle. Wiseman down the lane. Wiseman to the rim! Oh,
this past week has been insane. We are closing in on the end of the second week since the regular season started, and as promised, I have the second edition of the Top Rook series. If this is your first video, I recommend checking out the first edition in the link at the top right of your screen to get started, as this series is a follow-up to that edition. This week is full of surprises. There has been a lot of movement among the top rookies as the data sampling isn't quite large yet, so expect to see some players move up and others down. As we get further into the season, things will start to settle. I will be adding a few things to this edition, including injury list and other noteworthy things such as the player who had the best game in the past week. I will also include in this edition the player who had the best game prior to the first edition of Top Rook. That way we have a comprehensive listing. So what changed from last week to this week? Is there any movement at the top of the list? Are there any new entries into the top 10? More on all that in a bit, so let's get down to business. Hey everyone, what's happening? This is Swish, and today I have the second edition of the Top Rook series where we follow the performance of the top 10 rookies through their first season. For those of you who may be wondering about rookies that were drafted later on outside of the lottery, the longer they stay out of the Top Rook listing, the harder it is for them to move up into the list. Keep in mind, this is a cumulative ranking aside from the additional shout out to the player that had the best game of the week. The players who contribute the most to winning will be the players likely to be at the top. As things settle in, we'll be better able to tier those players based on the combination of their performance and win percentage with respect to their contribution to the team winning. Unlike other metrics that track only player individual performance, which may superficially inflate a player's value, if you aren't helping your team win, this will negatively impact your rating. That is, your stats have to be meaningful. This platform can and may be used in a myriad of ways, but for now, we'll keep it simple and straightforward. So, to preview our Top Rook listing, let's start out with the injuries report. First on our injury list is Obi Toppin, who is out with a calf injury till at least January 6th. So far, Toppin has only appeared in one regular season game. Isaac Okoro missed Sunday's game versus the 76ers. He was out with some kind of minor foot injury or soreness, it wasn't specified, after playing 42 minutes the night before versus the Pistons. Jalen Smith of the Suns missed Sunday's game versus the Kings with an ankle issue as well. However, both Okoro and Smith are listed as day-to-day. Onyeka Okongwu still has yet to make his debut and is listed as out for the foreseeable future. As I did last week, I'll mention players that are just outside of the top 10. Things are very dynamic and we might have players at 11 or 12 who can crack the list, so I keep tabs on those players as well. Please keep in mind that some of these players drafted late lottery are not currently getting any playing time. For example, players like Kira Lewis Jr., Aaron Nesmith, and Isaiah Stewart. Kira did get a few minutes tonight, but obviously those don't really count towards much. Please note that it is still early and players will be moving based on their performances. This isn't a personal preference based on watching games. I've used some numbers to help make things happen. This is based primarily on my player impact rating system, and I will do some additional fine-tuning as time goes by. But for now, it is fairly reliable. If I had to guess, I'd say somewhere between 90 and 95% in terms of accuracy until I update a couple of variables. So just before I get into the top 10 list, here are the players I have at number 12 and number 11. Last week, if you recall, I had Melo at 12. This week, coming in at 12 and having fallen out of the top 10 is Killian Hayes. Killian is the second such casualty of a top 10 pick falling outside of the top 10, at least temporarily. Killian was ranked 10th last week and continues his spiral downward as he's really struggled to be productive on a Pistons team that has yet to win a regular season game. Their next 7 games are against top teams like the Bucks and the Celtics and the Phoenix Suns, so barring some miracle, the Pistons might be down for a while. Not to mention, Hayes was injured in his game versus the Warriors. That was his worst showing of the season, posting 0 points, 0 rebounds, and 1 assist. Last week, we had Tyrese Halliburton at number 11. This week, falling outside the top 10 is Precious Achiuwa, who fell 6 places from being number 5 last week. What really hurt Precious was his performance against the Bucks. He didn't perform very well in the game they won and performed even worse in the game they did win. As I mentioned before, the more you contribute to your team winning, the higher you will rank on my list. Unfortunately for Precious, his numbers took a dive in the last 2 games, and with such a small sample of data, so did his ranking. This takes care of those guys outside our top 10. So, without further ado, let's get this show rolling with our top 10 impact players from our 2020 NBA draft. Coming in at number 10 this week is a new entry, Tyrese Maxey. Maxey was drafted with the 21st overall pick by the Philadelphia 76ers and has been consistently cracking Doc Rivers' rotation. Coming off the bench, Maxey has been providing good backup minutes for Seth Curry, even managing to play 21 minutes in his last outing with 10 points and 2 rebounds. Maxey is currently averaging 7.2 points, 1.7 assists, and 2 rebounds in 15 minutes of playing time. This is good for a player impact rating of 11.58 and the 10th spot on our list. Coming in at number 9 is Obi Toppin. Injury has not only kept Toppin from playing, but also from improving his rating as well. The Knicks have been, well, the Knicks. They've managed to win 2 out of 4 without their first round pick, and don't seem to be much worse without Toppin suiting up, losing to only the 76ers and the Raptors. Having not seen any playing time, there isn't much else to say about Toppin. He is averaging 7.6 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 1.4 assists in 25 minutes, playing 4 games in the preseason and 1 in the regular season. He cashes in with a PIR of 12.19. At number 8 this week is Deni Avdija. Avdija has been bobbing around with his performance, going up and down every other game. There doesn't seem to be any consistency to his minutes, ranging from 15 at the low end up to 36 on the high end. The Wizards have been very unlucky thus far, going 0-5 to start the regular season, losing their last 2 bids against the Chicago Bulls in a close matchup. Avdija currently averages 8.4 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 2.5 assists in 27 minutes over 5 regular season games and 3 in the preseason. He also finishes with a PIR of 12.28, edging out Obi Toppin for the 8th spot. At number 7 is Isaac Okoro. Okoro has fallen from the 5th spot last week due to having a couple of rough outings, the worst of which saw him play 42 minutes with 3 rebounds, no points, and no assists, despite these stats coming in a win for the Cavaliers. Since that game, Okoro has not played for the team and is still day-to-day. The Cavs beat the 76ers without Okoro, but lost the next 2 consecutive games. He has struggled to make a huge impact in his last 3 games, with his productivity falling off. Okoro averages 9.3 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 2 assists in 31 minutes of playing time over 4 preseason games and 2 in the regular season, finishing this week with a PIR of 12.6. At number 6, moving up 5 spots this week, is Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese has been playing well for the Kings, scoring in double digits in his last 4 of 5 outings and making regular rotation minutes. Tyrese is one of our biggest jumpers this week and has been doing very well for the Kings behind De'Aaron Fox. So far, drafting Halliburton at 11th has been a win for the Kings, shaping up to be what the Detroit Pistons were hoping they'd get from Killian Hayes. With age on his side, however, Hayes may come around in time. Halliburton is averaging 8.7 points, 2.6 rebounds, and 3.9 assists in 24 minutes of playing time over 5 regular season games and 4 preseason games, good for a PIR of 12.88. As things even out somewhat, our top 5 isn't quite separated from the rest of the group. However, there has been a lot of movement among the players. He was ranked at the top of our list last week, and coming in at number 5 is James Wiseman. Wiseman's first 2 games on the court with the team were electrifying as he solidified himself as having bona fide superstar potential. Playing well against the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks, his productivity, however, has waned in the last 2 games versus the Bulls and then the Pistons, eventually fouling out in the latter. As Wiseman gets his feet steady, I expect his productivity to ramp up and rank nearer to the top of this list. Wiseman is averaging 12.5 points and 5.8 rebounds in 23 minutes of playing time over the course of 4 regular season games. This is good for a PIR of 13.17. Holding steady at number 4 is Patrick Williams. Williams is the only player that has stayed in the same spot from draft night through the second edition of Top Rook. Williams saw his minutes fall in the 2 games versus the Washington Wizards, but so far has been one of the rookies who has had a somewhat consistent level of performance. I am starting to notice some trends with these players, but I'll add these thoughts in at a later time. Williams has played in 4 preseason games and 5 regular season games, averaging 10.9 points, 0.9 assists, and 3 rebounds in 25 minutes of playing time. His PIR currently sits at 13.32. Now, our top 3 is very interesting. In our third spot, we have Anthony Edwards, who was also ranked 3rd last week. His performance for the Timberwolves has been consistent through 4 regular season games and 4 preseason games. As one of the players that was picked in the top 3, Edwards has been providing impactful minutes off the bench for Minnesota, scoring 18 points in 22 minutes for his best individual showing. The Timberwolves are currently 2-2 in the standings, right in the middle of the pack with what may be a promising season. Given the personnel, their defensive capability has been brought into question, and rightfully so, as they have yet to keep any opponent below 100 points in either the preseason or regular season. Anthony Edwards is averaging 12.4 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists in 25 minutes of playing time. He has a current PIR of 14.9. And now for your biggest jump of the night. From number 12 last week all the way to number 2 this week is Melo Ball. After a horrific start in his NBA debut, Melo has been on fire, forcing his coach to play him additional minutes. If you recall earlier this week that I put out a video regarding this very issue surrounding the lack of playing time for a player who is obviously top 3 or 4 on the team at the moment. LaMelo currently comes off the bench behind guards Devonte Graham and Terry Rozier. In his last 2 outings, he has certainly made his case to be the starting point guard to run the Hornets offense. Since last week, he has helped his team beat the top-tier rated Brooklyn Nets as well as the offensive powerhouse that is the Dallas Mavericks, fresh off an NBA record routing of the Los Angeles Clippers. LaMelo was the best player on the floor for both teams against the Mavericks, outdueling Luka Doncic, a projected contender for MVP this year. LaMelo had the best and second best individual per minute game performances of all rookies this year. He's currently averaging 9.4 points, 5 rebounds, and 3.6 assists in just 21 minutes of playing time over the course of 4 regular season and 4 preseason games. He has a current PIR of 15.06, just ahead of Anthony Edwards. And moving up to number 1 this week, separating himself from the crowd with an impressive performance and winning record is Cole Anthony. The Orlando Magic currently have a record of 4-1, having just lost their first game tonight versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Cole has been a very consistent performer for the Magic and has been doing very well behind franchise point guard Markelle Fultz. There certainly is a case to be made for Cole Anthony to start next to Fultz, as he's outperforming Fournier in just about every category. It could be argued he's outperforming even Fultz, the first pick of the 2017 draft. Cole Anthony is averaging 11.7 points, 4 rebounds, and 3.8 assists in just 21 minutes of playing time over 5 regular season games and 4 preseason games, with a PIR of 17.75. As the most impactful rookie so far, Cole has fought a lot of adversity and showed up for his team. It shows in the win percentage of the Orlando Magic, and it is a shame he fell as far as he did in the 2020 draft, as he's outplayed so far all 14 guys picked before him. The potential for Cole Anthony to hold on to this spot long term is still an open-ended question, as LaMelo Ball's last 2 performances have been pretty wild. James Wiseman as well shouldn't be counted out just because he's currently in the 5th spot. Gear up for Wiseman's performance to improve going forward as he becomes a more integrated component of the Warriors offense. And that's it for this week's edition of Top Rook. Thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think, and if you'd like to see anything in particular added, or if there's something you don't like, let me know that as well. Thank you for the requests you guys have been making. I am considering them, so look out. You just might see the video you requested. And before I forget, Happy New Year to you all out there. My goal when I started this channel was to get just 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And here I am closing in on 3,000. Thank you guys so much for your support. I could not do this without you all. Till next time, swish.
A block so hard, Smitty gets served. Call me Lonzo Ball, bitches get swerved.
Usually I don't get down with these girls, but tonight it's on my mind, so I might eat these words. I just wanna